Once a month or so, I like to cover people's stories and experiences over their autoimmune disease, one that I relate to, which is Hashimoto's. There's so many people in the world that just are undertreated and severely suffering due to lack of proper treatment. So I like to read these stories and get them out there because I know how hard it is just to even advocate for yourself on your worst of days. So I'm using a few of my good days to help spread other people's stories as well as a few of my own. But today I'm going to read a story I found on Reddit not too long ago. And I'll read it and kind of maybe give a few suggestions at the end of what I would do if I were in that situation, perhaps. So, this person, the title says, I wish I could send a letter to all my past doctors. I, 38 female, was recently diagnosed after a fall caused them to discover a nodule on my thyroid and finally take me seriously for the first time in decades. I just wish I could write a letter to every doctor that accused me of drug seeking and faking to be in the role of sick, and let them know I was right. Something was really wrong with me and I wasn't crazy. I have severe PTSD now from the way I have been treated and how many times I have almost died because no one took me seriously until I was so far gone that they would admit me until I was stable, then send me on my way with no answers to wait until I feel ill again and begged for help. The amount of times I've almost killed myself over the years because I've thought maybe I'm just lazy or useless and crazy, and I was sick of suffering with no hope in sight. I would just like for someone to admit that they were wrong about me, and what I've had been feeling all these years is actually real. Thank you for letting me rant. I'm having a really bad night, as we all have. I've only just started medicine, and it will take some time to find my right dose. If anyone could share their stories on if and how their lives improved after diagnosis and treatment, I would really appreciate it. I could really use some hope tonight. Thank you in advance to anyone who takes the time to respond. Well, first off, I'm very sorry you're going through that, and that I know what it can be like to to plead with doctors to look in deeper. I've been to many doctors myself where I'm asking to run certain tests for deficiencies that are common with people that have this autoimmune condition. And it was like I was stepping on top of their ego a little bit because they were hesitant, many of them, mostly the endocrinologists. So I'm no big fan of their particular profession because they seemed the most unhelpful. I'm getting way more help from my regular PCP, which at least I was. That keeps changing too, but that's another story for another day. It's frustrating when they stop looking into your ailments. I'm glad you're finally getting medicated. That's going to hopefully give you improvements. I say hopefully because even when they get your TSH in balance, there's still many of us that experience a lot of painful symptoms from time to time. Me in particular, I still get a lot of joint pain. I suffer through constipation issues, and I have to have a very special and restrictive diet at times. But at least it's not so strict like it was for over a year when I went fully vegetarian and to the extreme of eating like the same 3 meals every day, basically, just to rule out any food sensitivity stuff because many people will suggest that check for celiac disease because a lot of us are sensitive to gluten. Um, Especially if you're in this subreddit on Hashimoto's, there's one lady in particular that first comment on everything is like, you're gluten intolerant. Well, not all of us are. I was tested and I wasn't, it didn't show up that I was. I still refrained from it because I know there's still potential bad effects. So I just refrained from it anyway, which is difficult because so many things have gluten in them, and it's hard to go out to eat. Uh, yeah, the PTSD of being gaslit from these doctors, trying to explain to them how much pain you're in and how debilitating this can be, and them just not believing you, that sucks. It sucks, and I wish I don't. It's hard to say I wish certain doctors could experience this to the severe degree that some of us do, or at least, like, especially the endocrinologist profession, if they're the ones responsible for looking after our hormones. They were neglecting so much of my other hormones that I had to beg my other doctor to finally check and realize, like, oh, I still have other imbalances that should be addressed. But like I said, many of us just aren't getting the proper medical treatment or the right testing. And at least, for anyone out there that is getting frustrated with their doctor's incompetence and lack of ordering these things, you can order your blood tests through certain sites. I'll try to leave a link in the description for one that someone on the subreddit recommended to me a while ago. So that was very helpful if you want to test certain hormones or certain deficiencies and what you might want to start taking in vitamin supplements and stuff. So hopefully some of that information will help a few of you out there. This autoimmune disease is definitely one that affects a person's mental health as well. Sometimes I gaslight myself thinking like, oh shit, maybe I am feeling a little better than I thought, and then the very next day I have such severe symptoms that leave me in bed all week. So it's like I get these reminders like, oh yeah, I have a disease, and it's hard to accept that. I'm still grieving some of that. I have therapy that I do weekly, and that's been way more helpful than I anticipated. At least in terms of accepting what I have now instead of fighting it and trying to make excuses for it, like to other people that don't understand it. And that's very difficult because a lot of people don't understand this. uh, Doctors obviously have a difficult time, so let alone family that thinks like, oh, they're just lazy and tired and just want to sleep all day. Well, it's not 100% our choice to do that. Yeah, I have to take way more breaks than I would like, and it frustrates me. But at least I'm getting better now to recognize when those fatigue moments set in, and I'm like, yeah, I got to take a break. Got to go lay down. Uh, Otherwise, this is going to snowball and get worse and leave me out for longer. But so self care is very important. It's do what you got to do to take your stress levels down as much as possible. There's a lot of other research out there that link so much trauma and stress to autoimmune disease. So just getting that out of your life as much as possible, which I know feels like an impossible task, especially when we're all struggling with this, and on top of the just daily life stuff to get by. So it's very important to take care of yourself and look for a very strong support system if you have one and lean into that. And that's hard to do sometimes, to accept help, but if you have it, it's very grateful when you do. But anyway, let's see if anyone has left any comments that might be helpful. I'm honestly going through a similar feeling, and I'm glad to have learned that from reading your post. This current doctor I'm seeing, I can already feel that he's not taking it serious, and I feel stuck. I've switched 3 doctors now. I also wanted to ask, prior to discovered a nodule on your thyroid, did you feel anything weird in your throat? Yeah, I've switched at least 3 doctors, nurses, combo of those. The best one I've had so far was just a regular doctor that at least runs the tests that I requested, and I stopped requesting the specific ones each time because none of them want to test your antibodies more than once ever. Like, they don't care. They don't care that you have antibodies attacking your thyroid or the quantity of that, or if there's supplements out there that could reduce that. Why do they not care? I don't know. It's silly and stupid. All they care about is hypothyroidism and making sure your TSH and your hormones are in balance, which just because it shows up on your blood work sometimes is close, they accept like a 4 TSH, which is way too high for most of us. Most of us feel way better down by like a 1.2 to under 2 at least. So I don't know. Like I said, a lot of doctors are so out of touch with what actually works. They're not interested in what actually might make us better. If like that's why it's so frustrating that this is what we have to depend on for our healthcare system here. But I've heard that functional doctors are maybe a better option. I don't have that option in my state. My insurance doesn't cover that. So maybe if you can find a regular doctor that's more open-minded and wants to work with you instead of trying to just dictate how your health should be, instead of working with you to understand your health and work towards making it better. Anyway, yeah, it's frustrating to find a good one. I so understand. I seriously think I would be dead by now if a cousin with Hashimoto's hadn't gotten me to a natural health improvement center to be diagnosed with Hashi and given the correct treatment in my mid-60s for something I had my entire life. Regular doctors had me on Synthroid, then levothyroxine for decades, and I got sicker and weaker along the way. I also had surgeries and medical conditions I now know were Hashimoto's related, and was on a slew of big pharma medical and psych prescriptions. Within a couple weeks of proper treatment, I learned for the first time in my life what normal feels like. I am angry at the doctors who refuse to learn how to treat thyroid patients correctly. It takes a functional doctor to get the right treatment so you can live your life like healthy people. Major change was going from synthetic T4 medication levothyroxine to NDT, T3 and T4. Currently on NP Thyroid by a functional practitioner. Over time, I was also put on prescription low-dose LDN. I'm on a compounded bioidentical hormones since having been on just levothyroxine. For decades, I had zero hormones left in my body. I take numerous OTC supplements, vitamin D, vitamin D3K2 combo, so do I. Alpha lipoic acid, DHEA, turmeric, I can't pronounce these, Candicid forte, magnesium, and a good multivitamin. My thyroid was killed by the autoimmunity while undertreated with levothyroxine over decades, and I have been left with a throat full of thyroid nodules which need monitoring. So much of that sounds so familiar, and thank you for the information within that. I do take vitamin D and K2 combo. I also take magnesium citrate. Like I said, I suck at pronouncing some of these things. I apologize. That does help a little bit with the constipation symptoms and kind of regulate the bowel stuff, which has been a nightmare with me. I've heard many people saying LDN has been very helpful in managing their pain, like their joints and stuff. So I've asked about it once before, but no one knew what I was talking about, it felt like. And yeah, I've only been on levothyroxine. And I've been curious about trying T3. Now, T3, from what I understand, just converts almost like immediately, like faster. And T4 takes time because it has to travel to the liver and then convert to T3 and then regulate and stuff. It's all this balancing act. But since I have liver issues as well, which is common with people that have this, sometimes the T4 doesn't convert properly to T3. So it might not be completing its full hormone cycle, or it's lagging behind since I have a slow or low functioning thyroid. So yeah, maybe T3 would help some of my symptoms as well. I don't know yet. Maybe that's an option I'll explore in the future. But yeah, good information there. So maybe some of you want to look into that as well. Anyway, I'll just leave the link to this particular post. If you want to read through the comments, you can see what else might have helped. I'm going to be doing more of these videos in the future, sharing more people's experiences with autoimmune disease in general, because a lot of times, as you'll learn, these things compound or they multiply over time. So what might help one person with this particular issue might apply to someone with a similar set of symptoms. And I have gut issues that correlate with many autoimmune conditions. So anyway, I'm gonna leave links, check the links and stuff, comments, whatever below. Leave questions if you have any. I'd like to have these videos just be helpful to anyone that has gone through any of this trauma and hardship, so we can all share what's helped us, so we can help each other, hopefully. Anyway, thank you for watching. Till the next video.